Okay, here we go. More integers. Today we're going to talk about how to subtract integers. If I were using a number line and I wanted to subtract these two numbers, and if I start at 3, remember 3 is where you're going to start, and I want to go back 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I end up at -2. Okay, so subtraction on a number line, we're just going to the left to indicate that we're taking away from the numbers. Again, we're not always going to use that number line for large numbers, so we need to follow the rule. And the rule is fairly simple for subtraction of integers. It's just 3 little words: add its opposite. Once you change the problem into an addition problem, then you just follow the addition rules. So let me walk this through with you. First number stays the same. First number stays the same. So I'm going to leave this as 5. Then it says add its opposite. Well, I am going to take this negative sign or subtraction sign and change it to a plus sign. But if I do that, then I have to do something with 7. I have to change 7 to its opposite. So that becomes -7. Now look at your problem. Look what I have. I have an addition problem, an addition of integers that's different signs. So I'm going to follow my rule for different signs, which says take the difference of the two numbers. So 7 minus 5 equals 2. The -7 is the larger value. So my answer to this problem is going to be -2. Okay, so subtraction of integers, we don't really subtract integers. We change them back to an addition problem. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more examples. Remember, the rule for subtraction is add its opposite, and we're going to do that to these two problems right here. Okay, so first number stays the same. I have -40. It's going to stay -40. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. I have to change my subtraction to an addition problem. So I'm going to change that to plus. And what's the opposite of 60? Well, the opposite of 60 is -60. Oh, look, I now have an addition problem of same sign. So I'm just going to add these two numbers and keep the sign. So when I add these two numbers, I get 200. Well, they're both negative, so I have -200. Okay? Well, let's look at the next example. Again, add its opposite. So the first number stays the same. I change it from subtraction to addition, but don't forget, I have to change my second number. I can't just change it to addition and not do anything with the second number. The second number becomes its opposite. And now I have two positive numbers that are the same sign, so I'm just going to add them together, and they equal 13. Okay, so remember, once you change it to an addition problem, go back and follow your addition rules. One more example. Add its opposite. I'm going to change this to an addition problem. -23 stays the same. I'm going to change this to addition. I'm going to take the opposite of -11, which is 11, and I'm going to add those two together. Well, now I have different sign. Different sign says take the difference of the values, so 23 minus 11 gives me 12, and my larger value is negative, so my answer is -12. We're going to look at one more concept when we talk about subtraction of integers, because range is a subtraction process. So I'm going to put up that definition real quick. Okay, in a set of numbers, the range is going to be the difference between the greatest value and the least value. So we're going to be doing subtraction. Okay, so our first example is finding the range between these two values, 10 and 5. Well, what's the greatest value? Well, the greatest value is 10. And what's the least value? The least value is 5. So I'm going to take the difference of these two numbers, or I'm going to subtract them. So the range between 10 and 5, and if you count this on a number line, it would prove it, the range between 10 and 5 is 5. Okay? Let's look at the second example, because now we're going to bring in negative numbers. The greater number is 53, and the least number is negative 7. Well, now I have to set this up as a subtraction problem, but remember, I have a negative number, okay? So I'm going to set it up as 53 minus my negative number, which is negative 7. Now I have to add the opposite, okay? So I'm going to change it to an addition problem, so it's going to be 53 plus, and what's the opposite of negative 7? 7. So the range between these two numbers, and if I counted this on a number line, I could prove it to you. The range between these two numbers is actually 60 spaces. Okay? Let's look at example number 3. Again, what is my greatest value? Well, in this example, I have negative 42 and negative 8. Which one's the greater value? This is kind of tricky. Going to be this one because it's further right on the number line. Okay, so I'm going to set up my problem negative 8 minus negative 42. Change this to add the opposite, so now I have negative 8 plus, and the opposite of 42, negative 42 is 42. So now I have different signs and I need to combine those. Well, the difference between those two numbers is going to be 34. Is it going to be positive or negative? It's going to be positive because 42 is the larger number. Okay? So be careful with range, especially when there are negative numbers. You have to keep the negative number and still set it up as a subtraction because you're taking the difference. Okay, here are your 3 got it problems. Don't forget the rule for subtraction is add its opposite, so you have to change it to an addition problem and change the second number to its opposite. Okay, and be careful with the range. Remember, you're subtracting, you're going to be subtracting a negative number, so then you're going to have to follow the rules for subtraction. Okay. All right, good luck on these, and we'll talk to you about these. Go ahead and just do your got it problems on the back of your notes, and we'll talk about them tomorrow.